Right now, the only two types of people who use trail systems are hikers and bikers. Although most people respect each other, hikers may not like bikers because they tend to rip down the path, and bikers may not like hikers because they're, quote, always in the way. Wouldn't it be nice to have some other recreational trail users so both parties can have someone else to hate? With unicycles on the trail, hikers won't have to be as worried about something flying down the trail since we're not going that fast. And at least unicyclists aren't too distracted by the scenery to move out of the way in a reasonable amount of time for bikers. But this video isn't about why you should hate unicyclists. It's about why you should take up mountain unicycling. If you've never thought about unicycling before, or never even knew it was possible to do through the woods, well, you're thinking about it now, so let's just go with it. This isn't to advocate you giving up mountain biking altogether, but maybe here and there you ditch the training wheel and try the trails on one wheel instead. Although biking never gets boring, if you live in a place where there's a limited number of trails, in order to get a new challenge, you're going to have to travel, or switch up some aspect of your bike, whether that mean bigger or smaller tires, hardtail versus full suspension. If you played the same game 1,000 times, it's still a blast, but you're lacking the challenge of trying something new, which brings the feeling of adaptability and progress. You can enjoy the outdoors in a myriad of different ways. You pick which mode you enjoy based on probably a lot of different factors like convenience and social norms, but a large factor for a large group of people is the challenge. If you simply wanted to enjoy the outdoors, go for a hike on the chillest, flattest, widest trail you can find and call it a day. But no, you took a bicycle and found a steep, rough, narrow path snaking through trees and rocks for the challenge of being able to say that you've conquered that section of Mother Nature. You could have walked it, but walking isn't as impressive as being able to navigate a hunk of metal on two wheels at 2 or 3 times the speed of your bipedal peers through a forest. There is something to be said about the challenge that mountain biking provides in the sense of accomplishment you get after clearing your first intermediate or first black diamond trail. Coordinating your movements to control an external apparatus shows that you're not only athletic under your own power, but your mastery extends beyond your own body, and you can control a device not originally designed to ride through the woods. So why not extend that sense of mastery from a device that wasn't designed to go through the woods to a device that really should not have been designed for practical use at all, the unicycle. Mountain unicycling is the feat that bicyclists have been practicing for their entire lives. Now it's just time to take the training wheel off. Using a unicycle to conquer the trails that were questionably made for 2 wheels is the next challenge that's easily accessible to you. Features that are easily rideable on a bike get a whole new spin on a unicycle. This becomes the most fun of mountain unicycling, taking a piece of equipment not meant for really anything and taking it anywhere. Riding the same trails on the same bike the most comfortable way may not challenge you, but it also facilitates complacency in your riding. Just like if you ride a full suspension bike 100% of the time, you may take for granted the fact that you don't have to use your legs to shock absorb on drops or rock gardens as much. If you were to hop on a hardtail now and again, you get practice having to use those legs to work for your impact absorption rather than just letting your bike do all the work. This should make the ride more enjoyable to remember the benefits of a full suspension that you forgot because you were so used to it. A unicycle is more difficult to ride in really every aspect compared to a bike. No coasting, balancing being upright forward and back, more difficult to balance side to side because of lack of speed, no handlebars to posture on, no cockpit at all to change gears or drop seats, and to date, no suspension either. Riding a unicycle will show you all the luxuries you have from riding a bike when you get back to biking. You'll appreciate and enjoy the luxuries you have a lot more than you would have otherwise if you never forgot there were luxuries to begin with. This is definitely not trying to say riding a unicycle will make you a better mountain biker, but changing up how and what you ride here and there will make you appreciate the features you do have during your recreational time and may ultimately make them more enjoyable. How many miles of trail do you need to have fun on a bike? It depends probably on what the trail consists of. Well, whatever that length is on a unicycle, it's drastically less. When biking, not every part of the trail is challenging. You typically only look forward to the features like rocks, jumps, and berms.
It's like that wall in the tough mode.
You really just roll or coast over the easy or uninteresting stuff. On a unicycle though, every inch of the trail is something you could fall on. The things a bike would just roll over may not be the same case on a unicycle. So the same trail you've been riding for years just got jam-packed with new features you overlooked as dull. It's like the trail got a makeover without any work. Not only that, because the features that require attention aren't so spaced out and you can't coast, you don't need as much trail to find a challenge. This is helpful since you can make a whole day of recreation from a much smaller trail system. So those 1 or 2 trails that you never hit because it might not be worth the trip are now worth it. If you get hurt, which, let's be honest, is probably likely.
Ow! My ankle.
You're never too far away from the trailhead as well. This also means less maintenance of the trails are required. The more traffic a trail gets, the more they need to be maintained. And if unicycles cover less distance than bicycles, then the trails that the public gets to enjoy would require less effort to maintain and require less total land area to develop these trails in the first place. All in all, features that are easily overlooked on bikes are now a huge challenge on a unicycle. You need much less trail to have a day of fun. You're always close to where you parked, and less upkeep is required for smaller trail systems. It's a win-win-win-win. I know someone out there immediately said, Dan, there's no way in hell you're going to convince me that riding on one wheel is safer than 2.
Oh boy. Don't hurt yourself on that one.
Oh, you know I'm gonna.
It's all part of it, right?
Yeah.
Have fun.
Thanks, man. You too.
Well, good news. I'm not going to argue that unicycling is safer than biking, but I will argue that the risk for serious traumatic injury is less, and the injuries you should expect on a unicycle are slightly different. You can catch some serious speed on a mountain bike from being able to coast and let gravity take you. And with that speed, you can experience unexpected terrain or launch yourself off jumps and drops where you may not have as much control as you think you should have. Crashing at these high speeds are a great risk for traumatic injury, but they don't quite exist in the same way on a unicycle. You can't pick up as much speed, and therefore when you fall, you're less likely to break or injure something. Notice I said when you fall, not if you fall. Because although you're not going to be crashing at 30 miles an hour, you're still probably going to take a lot more falls than you would have on a bike. These will be little trips, step-offs, rolls, and occasionally the surprise buck. Because you're constantly fighting to maintain balance by altering speed, body position, and wheel movement. Unicycling will rough you up bit by bit throughout your ride, but injuries from biking can put you out of commission for a while. So unicycling isn't absolutely safer than biking. Instead, they each have their own concerns and their own risks.
Wow. Oh my god, please don't fall in that pit.
Ow. Dude, my ankle's not happy with me.
Well, then maybe don't do this. Well, there you go. Ah!
Woo!
Oh god.
Every time you get on the trail, you assume some risk. So if you start a new job on Monday and you can't afford to be held up at the hospital from going over the bars mountain biking, maybe take the unicycle out. On the other hand, if you're getting married next week, protect that moneymaker from scrapes and bruises by putting the unicycle away and going out for a casual bike ride. I made a video about this a while back, but biking has very little eccentric movement. In other words, because the bicycle typically is a freewheel, you can't resist any movement like you can on a unicycle. Eccentric or negative muscle contractions largely contribute to delayed onset muscle soreness and muscular growth. And the only time you perform this on a bicycle is landing after a jump, and even then you have the suspension to cushion the resistance, so you're not really resisting the full force of landing. Yet on a unicycle, every stroke of the crank you're trying to maintain balance, which requires you to oftentimes resist movement forward by resisting the crank arm coming up. This especially happens on a downhill, the funnest part of any riding. This happens every crank cycle on a unicycle, so whereas you might experience eccentric movement on a bike on landing after jumps, which could happen, I don't know, between 20 and 10 times on a trail, you'll experience eccentrics every crank cycle on a unicycle, which there are hundreds if not thousands on any given run. Again, this isn't to say unicycling is inherently a more athletically demanding activity than biking, or vice versa, but you should expect different levels of soreness and different physical stress while doing either. Bikes are so common that there are a large number of bike enthusiasts out there, including myself. But with any large, socially accepted hobby, there become snobby and elitist individuals to the point where they view their above average participation in that recreational activity as a defining characteristic about themselves to justify them feeling superior to you. This definitely isn't everyone, but we may all know someone like this, or at least seen them whizzing by us on the trails, or been snubbed by them for not having the right brand of chamois. These elitists feel justified in their stance because biking is popular enough that our community as a whole accept bikes as a worthy hobby to excel at. It's cool to be a fit, strong, and knowledgeable biker. Now imagine thinking someone else is going to put you on a pedestal for being an elite unicyclist. Anyone who thinks that other people care to listen about how cool you are for being a top-tier unicyclist is, pun definitely intended, a clown. It's not really cool to ride a unicycle, so being an elitist is so much more uncool. And that's one of the things I like about it. I'm not out there trying to show off how elite I am by unicycling. I'm doing it for all the reasons listed in this video. If people see me out, they usually give me a compliment here and there, but that's really as far as it goes. Plus, the unicycle community is so small, people are more likely to want to share the wealth rather than gatekeep it. The community you'll find unicycling is refreshing and relaxing. We all know how ridiculous and crazy it looks to ride on one wheel, and now we're doing it in skate parks, through woods, and down mountains. It's all very insane, which is why no one takes themselves too seriously. It's really a breath of fresh air. All in all, imagine trails like we imagine skate parks or public recreation ways. You can walk, bike, skateboard, roller skate, scooter, or whatever equipment you want to have fun with, but hikers and bikers are really the two major types of trail users aside from the occasional horseback rider. But imagine including another apparatus in the mix where all the benefits we went over could be reached on a mass level. I don't think I'll stop mountain biking anytime soon, but I also don't think I'll stop riding my mountain unicycle anytime soon either. Maybe some bikers will be upset with encouraging more slow trail users to be out and in the way, but the trails are there for the public, and as long as we're being respectful of each other, I don't see a huge reason why this should be a problem. Thank you all for watching. I hope this inspired or at least made someone think about trying to take a unicycle out on the trails, or get a unicycle in general. If not, I hope this made you think slightly different about how the existing green space we have is being used by recreationalists. Let me know in the comments your thoughts, and consider subscribing if you want more content like this. Thanks and good luck.